Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little cube bracelet. I'm just calling it little cubes because I am just not clever enough to think of something else. So anyway, this is what this looks like. Let's get close. They're little tiny 2x2 crystal cubes, and it really turns out quite pretty. We just make little bars to separate and secure the rows of cubes, and a button closure. Let me show you what it looks like on. Now this button is a little rounded on the bottom, and I should have selected something a little flatter, but it does stay on pretty well because I had a hard time getting it off actually. But I think I would choose a little bit different button next time. But anyway, that's what this looks like on the wrist. You can see all the different stations of the little bars, and I just did different colors, couple of units of blue and then a few units of clear, and just made a little bit of interest with the color. You could do this ombre with graduating colors. That would be really pretty. That was actually my original idea, but I don't have graduating colors in these crystals. So that's what that is. Now, I also made, this is my original design. I made this one first. This has less stations of the crystal cubes on it. Let me back off a little bit. That's a little bit annoyingly close. And this button actually works a little bit better, but I made this one a little bit shorter so it's a little bit tighter on my wrist. And that's what this one looks like. The way I ended it was just with a couple of rows of right angle weave on this one, and embellished it with the crystals alternating in color on this one. This one I just made all the bars exactly the same, even the closure bar. This one I needed a little bit more length, so I did that. Had I added a whole nother unit, it would have been too long, so I gathered more length by doing that. So that's what these look like. And you can also use for this design 2x3 crystals. You do not have to use the little tiny cubes if you don't want to, but the 2x3 crystals work just fine. On this one, I was just messing with it. I used an 8/0 seed bead between these. You do not have to use an 8/0. You should do it exactly the same way this pattern is. Just use 2x3 crystals. They work great, and they have basically the same effect. They just stick out a little bit more than the cubes. But that's what these look like. And we are going to, this is the main body. Let me get the clasping out of the way. That's the main body. And let's go ahead and get started. This is the one I'm going to show you today. Okay, for this project today, we will be using 8/0 and 11/0 seed beads, and these are Toho, and they are both the nickel plate. And then we will be using a shank button. I'm using a very small round shank button. It's just a little rhinestone looking shank button. Any shank button you want to use will be fine. Just make sure it's fairly small in diameter. It can be a little bigger than this, but just keep it fairly small. And then we're going to be using some 2x2 crystal cubes. Now these little crystal cubes I bought at crystalbeads.com. And it's a periwinkle blue and a clear crystal cube. And like I said, they are the 2x2. If you go to ChineseCrystalBeads.com and just put into the search bar on that site 2x2 crystal cubes, they should come up, and there's a whole bunch of colors and a lot to choose from. So if you want to use the crystal cubes, that's where you will buy those. And then also, if you'd like to use little tiny 2x3 crystal rondels, like this one, this is just a little tiny 2x3 crystal rondelle, you can use those too. They work really well in this design. And you can get, I got this little package of them on Amazon. There's a whole bunch of different ones in here. It was like $12, something like that. I don't know exact price, but I got a whole bunch of different little 2x3 crystal rondelles in this type of package. So if you want to do graduated colors in this, you can do that. Like this color and this color would be pretty together, whatever. But they work really well in this design also. So don't be limited if you do not have the cubes. Perhaps you have the 2x3 crystal rondelles and you can go ahead and do this design. It'll work just fine. And then I'm using 8-pound Nanofil. You can also use 6-pound Fireline. I would stay with the smaller size in Fireline simply because you're sewing through crystals. And when you sew through crystals a few times with a heavy, milky type of color of thread, the whitish color thread, it kind of makes your crystals foggy. So if you stay with the lighter, that's why I'm using the 8-pound Nanofil, then your crystals stay sparkly and you don't see the thread through it so bad. Unless you're using very dark crystals, then you don't have to worry about that, and you can also use smoke colored Fireline for that. But I'm using 8-pound Nanofil today, and I'm using a size 10 beading needle, and I have just threaded onto my beading needle about a wingspan or a yard, something like that, of thread. Know that you will have to extend your Fireline or your Nanofil during this project. So put on a length that's comfortable for you to work with. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, and right off the bat, I'm going to say that I know my nails don't look good. Someone's going to make a comment about that. I know they're grown out, but I've been sick for several days and didn't feel like getting them done, so just put up with me, okay? Please. So let's go ahead and start with some 8/0 seed beads. We're going to put 4 8/0 seed beads onto our needle. This is a right angle weave project, so we will be doing right angle weave. I have my 4 8/0 seed beads. I'm going to bring them down to the end of my thread. I'm not going to leave a long tail, just enough to hold on to, and I will also tie a knot. So just enough so that you can manipulate your tail thread into a knot. Then we're going to come through the first bead that we put on, like so, and just pull that through. Until you get a little unit of right angle weave like this one. And then we're just going to sew through all of these beads until we get to where our tail and working thread meet, and then we will tie a knot. So I'm just going to sew through each one. Don't worry about having your unit really tight and neat yet. Here I am going to tie a knot in my thread. So I'm going to take the working thread and the tail thread, and I'm just going to tie a small knot and bring it down between my beads and give a little tug. I think I'm going to do one more just to make sure that actually worked. Make sure that it's nice and neat. And then I'm going to sew back through the beads I didn't sew through as I went through securing. So I'm going to go through the top bead here, and then I'm going to go through this side bead here. And now I have a nice little unit of right angle weave. And get you close, rearrange my camera a little bit, and that's what that should look like. Now, let me back off just a little bit. We're going to pick up 3 more 8/0 seed beads and make another unit of right angle weave. So we're just going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of and bring down our beads into a new unit and then sew through it. We're going to secure each unit that we do of right angle weave, otherwise it's just messy and weak. We want to give it some actual strength and form, and using a lighter thread like the 8-pound Nanofil or the 6-pound Fireline, you need to sew through it again. especially because it just doesn't hold them real tight. Now you can see my unit is rather messy, so I'm just going to sew back through till I get one bead at a time, until I get to the next bead I need to be in to work my next unit, which is this outside bead here. And I'm just going to tug as I do this to kind of make my unit a little bit nicer, like so. And then we will add one more unit of right angle weave. So pick up 3 8/0 seed beads and then come into the opposite side of the bead you're coming out of and just hold on to the beads and pull your thread through. And then again, sew through this entire unit. So go through the top bead. Oops, I just pulled my whole unit out. And that's okay if that happens, just bring it back down and sew through. And these first few units are a little awkward just because the beads are small and my thread is small. Now I'm going to sew back into the next 2 beads here and get to the outermost bead here. Now, before we start making our columns of beads, which will make up the bracelet length, we are going to go ahead and finish this in this little bar that we're making to attach to. And we're also going to put our button on for our clasping. So what we need to start with is an 11/0 seed bead. And then I'm going to start with some blue cubes. So I'm going to pick up a blue cube and an 11/0 seed bead. And then I am going to go through the opposite bead that from which I'm coming out of. So I'm going to find the opposite bead and go into the opposite end of that bead. So I'm coming out of this bead on this side. I'm going to go into the opposite bead on this side, like so. So you're just going to bring your beads over the top of the unit in a diagonal, like so, and pull it down. Now it's going to be a little loose until we go through and make our next unit. So let's look at just a little bit closer, and let's pick up an 11/0 seed bead and another blue cube, 11/0 seed bead, and then I'm coming out of this bead on this side. I'm going to go into the opposite bead on the opposite side and pull these down. Now your thread is going to want to tangle, so make sure you bring it around and just pull those down. As you pull those down, you will also tighten the first unit. So give a little tug, make sure that they're nice and tight, and then pick up another 11/0 seed bead, a cube, and an 11/0 seed bead. And then we're going to go into this first bead that we made in our very first unit on the opposite side. So opposite bead on the opposite side from which you're coming out of, the bead you're coming out of. And pull this down. Now in order to secure this one, we're going to sew through this entire unit of right angle weave. So we're coming out of this bead on the end, we're going to go into this bead on the bottom here, and just that 8/0, don't go into the next unit, and pull, and then go into the middle connecting bead between the first 2 units here, right here. If I turn over my unit, you can see where I'm at, see? Now, I'm just going to put my thumb over the beads and pull, and then go into the top unit here, and then I am going to go, or not top unit, top bead. Make sure I'm not tangled here on that 11/0 in the embellishment, and then I'm just going to turn my piece, move my tail, and go into this bead right here. Now this is a little awkward just because it's so little, and just kind of go slow. And then we are coming out of this bead here. We're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. We're going to go into the bead right next to the 8-0 we're coming out of. So from this 8-0 to this 8-0, we're going to put an 11-0 seed bead between those two beads. Pull your thread through. And then again, pick up another 11-0 seed bead and go into the next 8-0 seed bead right here. So we're basically on the bottom of our little bar. And you know that because your tail is coming out of the top. I know I'm turning this piece as I do this, but it's a little awkward to hold on to. Then I'm going to pick up another 11-0 seed bead and go into the next 8-0 right here. And pull. And then another 11-0 seed bead and go into the side 8-0 right here. And pull. Now I'm coming out of the very side piece here and I'm going to work my way over the top of the bar. But first I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and go from this side 8-0 into this top 8-0 right here. And then on the very top here, we're going to pick up a couple crystals and put it between the 8-0 seed beads. So I'm going to pick up my blue crystal. And then I'm going to go into this 8-0 seed bead. And then I'm going to pick up another blue crystal and I'm going to go into the next 8-0 seed bead here. I'm wrapped around my tail. Pull that out of there. And I'll show you what I have. I know my finger's covering it, but this is what you should have. And this is actually, I'm holding it upside down. This is the top of the unit, and this is the bottom of the unit. But what we're going to do now is we're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead. Let me flip it around. Coming out of this 8-0 seed bead right here, we need to pick up one more 11-0 and make the corner of the bar here. So we're going to go from this 8-0 into this 8-0 here. And pull. My tail is just really giving me a hard time here. Get that out of there. And pull this down. Now I am just going to clip off this tail because it's just driving me crazy. Get rid of it. And I'm going to burn it down, making sure I don't fill my beads with it. I'm just going to melt it down. And then I'm going to sew around this entire little bar I just created. So I'm coming out of this 8-0 seed bead. I'm going to go into all the 11-0s and 8-0s on the bottom here. Make sure you're going through all of them. Don't miss any. And pull your thread through. But I'm just going to tangle on everything. Jeez. And then I'm going to go up through this bead and this bead here. So the 8-0 and the 11-0. And then I'm going to come through just the 8-0, crystal, 8-0, and crystal on the top here. And exit. And then we're going to put our button on the top so that we can have our clasping ready, and then we'll work down the bracelet because we're not going to work back up to do the clasping. You could leave a long tail and come back and put your clasping on if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and just put it on now. So I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up my shank button like this and drop this down to my unit here, and then I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead again, and then I'm going to go back through these crystals again. So back through the outside of the crystal here towards my right side, and then I'm going to go through the middle 8/0 and the crystal on the left hand side and pull. Now this particular button has a great big shank, so if you need to, if you have a really small shank, you can use 11/0s on here, but I'm using 8/0s just to fill in that extra space. Now I'm coming back through the 8/0 on the left side, the shank of the button, and the 8/0 on the right side, and I'm going to pull this down again, and then go back through the crystal, the 8/0, and the crystal on my unit, and pull my thread tight. And see how that just butts up against there and makes a nice little connection and closes up the shank there. Now I'm just going to sew through it one more time just to make sure everything is secure. 8/0 shank, 8/0, then go through the crystal, the 8/0, the crystal, and then you also want to include the 8/0 behind that crystal, right here, and pull. Now, just to secure everything, we're going to sew back down through this 11/0 seed bead, the 8/0, the 11/0, and I'm going to sew back around the entire unit one more time just to make sure everything is really nice and secure. So I'm going to go through all these beads. I'm coming out of this 11/0 on the corner. I'm going to go through all of these beads on the bottom again. Pull my thread through, and then go through these side beads, this 8/0 and this 11/0 in the corner, like so, and then through all of the beads on the top. So the 8/0, the crystal, the 8/0, the crystal, and the 8/0 behind that crystal, right there. Make sure you don't miss any. You can flip your piece over to make sure your needle has slid through if you need to. And then I'm going to sew back down into these 3 beads on the side here, the 11/0, 8/0, and 11/0. And now this bar should be really nice, secure, firm, and pretty, like so. Now I'm going to sew into this 8/0 seed bead right here, and just the 8/0, and exit. This is where we will begin the body of the bracelet. So what we're going to do is, I think I want to go ahead and start with clear crystals, then work my way down to blue, and then make a clear bar. So I want my clear next to my blue. You could do blue next to your clear, and so on and so forth. It just depends on how you want to do it. I want to go ahead and put the clear next to the blue on the bar, and then on my next bar I will make the crystals on the bar clear. So I'm going to alternate my colors. So I'm going to pick up a crystal bead, little crystal cube. You can use a 2x3 crystal also, and then pick up an 11/0, and then I'm going to pick up a clear crystal. And I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8/0 seed bead, that I'm coming out of and just into the 8/0. Don't go into any of the other beads behind that 8/0, and pull this down. Now I'm going to secure this by sewing through it again. And this is why I say use a lighter thread, because we're going to go through these crystals a couple times to make sure they're nice and secure. And the more thread you put in your clear crystals, the foggier they get. So that's why. Then go through the 11/0, then go through the crystal, then go through the 8/0, and now you have gone all the way around to secure it. We have to sew back down to the 11/0 seed bead. So go through this crystal on this side, I crossed my thread. I thought I crossed my thread. I knew I did, actually. There we go. Just go through the crystal and then come through the 11/0 seed bead here. And now we're going to make another unit of clear. So pick up a clear crystal, an 11/0, a clear crystal, and then go through the 11/0 seed bead on the opposite side from which you're coming out of, and then secure it. Then sew back up to your 11/0. Now I'm going to put in some, I think I'm going to go for, let's see, do I want to do one more unit of clear? Yeah, I think I'll do one more unit of clear, and then I'll do some blue crystals, and then we'll make a clear bar. So I'm going to pick up a clear crystal, an 11/0, a clear crystal, and then go into the opposite side from which I'm coming out of, and pull these around. Then secure them. Oops. As I'm really clumsy today. And then through the 11/0, and then back into the clear crystal here, and then I'm going to make 2 units of blue. So I'm going to pick up a blue crystal, an 11/0, a blue crystal, and I'm going to go back into the opposite side of the 11/0. On my original design, I made much longer units in between bars, and I decided I didn't really like the way it looked as much as having the bars a little bit closer together. So this particular version, we're going to make shorter sections in between the bars. So we're going to do 3 of the clear units and 2 of the blue units, and then we'll make a bar. Okay, so now we are coming out of this 11/0 seed bead. We're going to make 1 more unit of blue, but this time on our 5th unit, our 2nd unit of blue here, instead of picking up an 11/0 between the crystals, we're going to pick up an 8/0. So pick up a crystal, an 8/0, and a crystal, and then go into the opposite side. Just like we've been doing, It's just that we have an 8/0 seed bead this time. So now we need to secure through this just like we did with our other units. I'm going to sew through the crystals and pull tightly as I come through. And your crystals are going to set at a little different angle when you're coming out of the 8/0. Like on the top here, when we came out of the 8/0, they sit at an angle, and then down when we add the 8/0, they sit at a bit of an angle. They'll straighten out a little bit as we do our next step, but they will be at a bit of an angle, so don't think that that's wrong. That's just the way it's going to be. Now, we're going to go through this 8/0 seed bead. And we are going to make another bar, so another connection bar for our bracelet. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 8/0 seed beads. We have the 4th one already on our unit, so 3 8/0s, you're coming out of this side, going to the opposite side of the 8/0. And then just sew back through all of these 8/0s. Just put your thumb on top to secure them or keep them secure as you sew through them, and then pull tightly as you come through each bead, and that will make your unit nice and neat and tight. Now I've gone all the way around. I have to sew all the way around again to this bead, so I'm going to go up through this side bead here, and then into this bottom bead, and then into this side bead. I will make 2 more units of right angle weave with 8/0 seed beads. So pick up 3 more 8/0s. Let me just turn my unit like so. Sorry, it's kind of hard to hang on to and stay in camera and all that stuff. And then I'm going to go into the opposite side of this 8/0. Pull this down and then sew through this unit again. But you can tell I don't feel very good. Oh man, I am just lost my thread in my needle, so let me put that back in there. And continue sewing around this unit. Now I've sewn all the way around. I have to sew to this bead here. My unit doesn't look fabulous, but that's okay. It'll straighten up as I work through it, and especially once I put my embellishments on, they will straighten up the units too. Now I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead and I'm ready to put my next unit on. So we're going to go through 3 8/0 seed beads, go through the opposite side, and then pick up, or then sew through all 3 of these beads. Now we need to get to the end here. And we're going to go ahead and embellish these. This time I'm going to embellish them with clear crystals. So I'm coming out of this end 8/0 seed bead here, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up an 11/0, a clear crystal, if I can pick one up, and an 11/0. And then I'm coming out of this side of this 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to find the opposite 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going to go through the opposite side of it. I'm going to bring these down and make sure they go on top of my unit, like so. Then I'm coming out of this middle 8/0 seed bead here. I'm going to pick up an 11/0, a clear crystal, and an 11/0, and then I'm going to find the opposite 8/0 and go through the opposite side, like so. So just crisscross over it in a diagonal. And pull it down, like so. Then I'm going to do that one more time. Pick up an 11/0 seed bead, a crystal, an 11/0, and then I'm coming out of this side of this crystal. I'm going to go into the opposite side, or not crystal, of the 8/0. I'm going to go into the opposite 8/0 in the opposite side. There we go. Now to secure this, I'm going to sew through this entire last unit again. So let me turn this just slightly. I'm coming out of the 8/0 seed bead here. I'm going to go into the 8/0 seed bead on the top of this unit and just sew through the unit of right angle weave. And as I do so, I'm going to pull tight to make sure all of my embellishments are nice and tight. Then I'm going to go into this middle 8/0. If I turn it over, you can see I'm going through the middle of that 8/0 seed bead right there. And then into this bottom 8/0 right here and exit. Give a nice little tug. Make sure your embellishments look good. Move them around if you need to, whatever you need to do. Make them look nice and good. Make sure they're tight. And then pick up an 11/0 seed bead. You're coming out of this 8/0, go into the 8/0 on the side of the unit here, and pull the 11/0 seed bead down to make a corner of your bar. And then again, pick up an 11/0 and go into the next 8/0 that the crystal is attached to from your unit here, or your row, or whatever you want to call it. Pull that 11/0 down, pick up another 11/0, go into the next 8/0 seed bead on your bar in the next unit of right angle weave, and pull an 11/0 seed bead between those beads. Again, one more time. Go into the next 8/0, and we're just going to work all the way around the unit, putting 11/0 seed beads between the 8/0s. Here I'm at the corner. I'm just going to turn the corner and place it an 11/0 on the corner, like so. And then one more time, pick up an 11/0, go into the 8/0 on the bottom here. Pick up an 11/0, go into the next 8/0. And again. Like so. Make sure I'm in camera here. And then I'm going to go into the 8/0 here on the side and put an 11/0 in this corner. As I go through, I'm going to go up through the, or is there already one there? There's already one there. So I don't need to pick up one. I'm just going to go into this 11/0, 8/0, and 11/0 so I can attach this 8/0 to it. See, there's already one there. So I'm going to pull this down. Make sure that's correct. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew through all these beads on top. So I'm coming out of the corner 11/0. I'm going to go into all the 11/0s and 8/0s on the top here and pull. Then I'm going to go through this 8/0, 11/0 on the side here. Then I'm going to turn it again, and I'm going to go all the way over to this 8/0 seed bead here. And I'm not sure about that corner 11-0 there. There we go. Okay, come all the way through all of these beads and then exit this 8-0 seed bead right here. That little 11-0 just doesn't want to behave. But it's there, so it's correct. And that's what you should have so far. And you have another divider bar here. And we're going to make another unit of, or another row of our crystals. I'm going to start this time with the 2 sets of blue crystals. So I'm going to pick up a blue, an 11-0, and a blue. And I'm just going to reverse what I did here. So instead of starting with my 3 clear crystals, I'll start with 2 sets of blue, then 3 clear, and then I'll make a blue bar. So now I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 I'm coming out of. And then I'm going to sew back through this set. Back into the 8-0. And then I'll tighten that up because it got a little messy looking there. And then back down to my 11-0. And then we're going to pick up another crystal in blue, an 11-0, and a crystal in blue. And again, going to the opposite side of the 11-0, and then again secure the unit. So sew through it. And then sew down to the 11-0 seed bead. So I'm just going to turn this. Oh my, okay. And then into the 11-0. Now I'm going to make a clear crystal set. And do the exact same thing I've been doing, but now I'm just using clear crystals. And I think I picked up a, no, I picked up an 11-0, okay. On the very last third set, because we're going to do 3 sets of clear crystals, on the third set, that's where we'll pick up our 8-0 seed bead. So remember to do that because you'll get carried away making your crystal sets and then you'll realize you're at your last one and you didn't put an 8-0 seed bead in. And believe me, it happens because I've done it a million times when I designed this. So go all the way down into the 11-0 again. Make another clear crystal set. Clear crystal, 11-0, clear crystal, go into the opposite side, pull it down. Let me reposition my hands here. Oh, got 11-0 stuck in my fingernail. And continue securing it. This is pretty repetitious. We're going to just continue working, making our units and our bars until we get to the length that we want, and then we will work our way back up the other side. So, one more unit. So I'm going to pick up my crystal, and this time I'm going to pick up an 8-0 because this is my last unit in this section. So crystal, 8-0, crystal, and go into the opposite side. Secure it. And come back down into your 8-0 and then make your 3 units of right angle weave from your 8-0. And then this time, when we put our crystals on, we'll put blue crystals on. Then when we start our next rows of crystals underneath our bar, we will start with the clear crystal. We'll make 3 units of clear crystal, then 2 units of blue, and then we'll make another bar. So we will just continue doing exactly what we've been doing. Go ahead and make another bar, 3 units of right angle weave, put on your crystals, and then go around putting your 11-0 seed beads in between the 8-0s, sew around the unit, and then continue making your row again, starting with your clear crystals. We're going to continue doing that until we have 7 complete bar units with, of course, your extensions in between. Now, this is measuring right at about 6 3/4 inches. So I am going for about a 7 3/4 inch bracelet, 7.5, somewhere around there. So if you want to make your bracelet a different length, take this into consideration and then either stop here or add another unit here. And you can either add or subtract an inch off the length of your bracelet doing that. Now I am coming out, what I've done is I've made my last unit, but I have not completed it completely. Let me show you what I mean. I have made my last unit of 8-0 seed beads, then I've embellished the crystals on top just like I've been doing, and I'm coming out of this 8-0 seed bead right here. Now whether or not you're coming out the same direction I am in the same bead depends upon how you put your crystals on. But it doesn't really matter because we're going to go around and put our 11-0 seed beads on it just like we have these other units, except for when we get to the top, between these 3 8-0 seed beads up here, we're going to put in our crystal cubes just like we did on the other end of the bracelet on our very first unit. So regardless of how you're going around, just know that's what you need to do, and it should be fine. So pick up an 11-0 seed bead. I'm coming out of this 8-0. I'm going to go into this 11-0 seed bead right here, and I'm going to pull through my thread. And then I'm going to pick up another 11-0 and go into the next 8-0 seed bead here and pull through my thread. And hopefully it'll straighten up my unit. It always does. These units look really sloppy until you embellish them with the 11-0s here. Then I'm going to pick up another 11-0 and go through this 8-0. So just placing 8-0 seed beads between the units just like we have been all along. Now I'm on the corner here, so I have to turn the corner and place an 11-0 between these two 8-0s here. So that's what I'm going to do right here. And then I'm going to turn the corner here with another 11-0 right here. And then here I'm going to pick up a blue crystal and go into the next 8-0. And then I'm going to pick up a blue crystal, go into the next 8-0. Then I'm going to get that in there properly. Then I'm going to pick up another 11-0 seed bead and go from this 8-0 into this 8-0. And I'll go into the 11-0 I placed on the other side too. Now I need to sew around this entire unit to secure it. So I'm going to go into all these beads, the 11-0s and 8-0s on this side, and pull my needle through. Let's back off just a little. It's just a bit too close. Then I'm going to sew through these 3 beads here. And then I'm going to sew up through all of these beads here. And just to make sure they're nice and secure, I'm going to go all the way through before adding the end of my clasping, or the loop for my clasping. I'm going to go through all of these beads. I'm also turning the corner at the same time here because I went through that 8-0 and that 11-0. Go through this 8-0 here. Straighten back out my unit. So I've just come through these 3 on this side, or 2 on that side, and then all of these beads again, right here. Okay, so now I just have to sew up until I can get to these crystals. So I'm going to sew through this 8-0 and 11-0 on the corner here. And then I'm going to sew into this 8-0 and the crystal and the 8-0 behind that crystal and the crystal behind that 8-0. So right here, and I'm going to exit the crystal. And then we're going to make our loop to go around the button. So there is not a specific amount of beads that I'm going to tell you to pick up. I'm just going to pick up some 11-0s, and then I'm going to test it with my button to make sure that it goes around my button. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just going to start picking up 11-0 seed beads onto my needle, and when I get what I think will be the right amount for my loop, I can slide through my crystals and measure it. So just pick up a bunch of 11-0s. Let's see what that looks like. My button is not very big, so maybe a few more. And now what I'm going to do to test this is I'm just going to slide through this first crystal here on this side. Actually, I'll just go through all 3 of those beads. And then I'm going to hold this very tightly by wrapping the thread around my finger a couple times like this, making sure that my 11-0s do not slide. Then I'm going to take my button and I'm just going to try to put it through and see if it goes through. And it does. It goes through pretty nicely. So I'm going to try to take it back out, see how well it's going to function. I may want to add one more. No, actually I think it'll be okay. So I have the amount of seed beads that I want for my clasping, and I'm just going to start sewing up around all of these beads. Now, if you don't have the amount that you want, then you'll just pull it apart, add a few more, or if you have too many, pull it apart, take a few off, and then adjust your length accordingly. Since I do have a pretty good amount, I'm just going to go ahead and start sewing up through all of these beads. And I'm going to do this, sew through all the beads, and then sew through my attachment beads here. And I'll do this about 3 times just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. So let me go through here. Make sure you do not miss any of your beads. And then just pop through these attaching beads, your crystal, your 8-0, and your crystal again. Make sure you get through all 3 of them. I seem to be having a time getting that crystal. And there we go. I got an 11-0 in my loop. But since I'm going to sew around one more time, doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and sew around one more time and secure it and come through my crystals, and then we'll be back and I'll show you how to start your other side. Okay, so I have secured my little loop one more time, and now I need to sew through my frame of this bar until I can get over to this 8-0 seed bead so we can start our other side. So I'm just going to pick it up and start sewing from this crystal into this 8/0 and around the frame again. So let me get into this 8/0 seed bead here. And it's kind of at a funny angle now, so just go through it. Don't worry about trying to get the 11/0 behind it, and then start going through your beads multiples at a time, like this. Now I've picked up this 11/0 and this 8/0, and then I'm going to go through this corner 11/0, and I'll go through all of these beads until I get to this 8/0 seed bead right at the very end, before this 11/0 on the corner here. See if I can exit without getting that 11/0. So just like this, and then I'm going to push my needle through, like so. Now we're going to begin making the units exactly like we have been making them. Now you're just going to copy the side right next to it. So I have 3 clear units. I'm going to go ahead and make my first clear unit with you, and then I will make my next units all the way to this unit here, and we'll come back and connect the last unit so that you don't have to watch me do all of that on camera. So what we'll do at this point is I'm going to pick up a clear crystal, I'm going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and I'm going to pick up a clear crystal, and I'm just going to come into the opposite side of this 8/0. Now you're going to have to do this at an angle. You've got all kinds of stuff on here. It's sewn tightly. So just do this, and then secure it. Like so. And then just sew up to the 11/0 seed bead. I hope I've been in frame. I'll back off a little bit here. Into the 11/0 seed bead, and then like I said, we're going to continue doing our units exactly the same way. So go ahead and make 2 more units if you're clear, or 1 unit if you're blue, and then we'll come back to make the last unit of blue and attach it to our bar on this side. Okay, so as you can see, I have done all my units until I am ready to do my very last unit of blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of this side of my 11/0 seed bead. I'm going to pick up a crystal, and then I'm going to go into this 8/0 seed bead right here on the end. So right in alignment with the one that we're coming out of. And get you close just so you can see this 8/0 seed bead here. On the corner there's an 11/0, go into this 8/0. Let me back off a little bit. Pick up your crystal, go through the side. You're coming out of the 11/0 on your strand. Go through that side on the 8/0. Pull your crystal through, and then pick up another crystal. And then go into the opposite side of the 11/0 from which you started in. You're going to have to hold everything together, and then just go ahead and sew back through the entire unit again. So as you can see, get you a little closer. I'm coming out of the 11/0. I'm just going to go up into this crystal. It's going to be sloppy as you do this, but as you tighten it, it'll neaten up and look good. So this is how we're going to do this. Neaten. That's not a word, but you know, it'll get neater, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, come through this 8/0 seed bead right here. Here. And then I'm going to go through the middle 8/0 seed bead. So I'm just going to poke this through the back just so you can see where I'm coming through, because I can feel it on my piece, but it's better if you see it. So I'm coming out of this 8-0 right here. This is my original unit of 8-0 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to skip over this 11-0 that I put between my units of 8-0 seed beads and go up into this 8-0 right here in the middle and pull through. Let me untangle myself here. And then I'm going to go into this 8-0 seed bead right here. Now it's just the original unit of right angle weave. We're just sewing through the 8-0s. Then I can turn it back over and show you where I'm at. Now I am right here and I am ready to start making my strand to connect to this unit again. So we're going to do it exactly the same way we did this. Go ahead and pick up your blue crystal, your 11-0, your blue crystal, go through the opposite side of this 8-0, secure, move down, making your units until you get to your last unit, and then do it exactly how I just showed you. Pick up one crystal, go through the 8-0, pick up another crystal, and go back through the 11-0. And just continue doing that, creating this side. Then you have to sew back through your 8-0 unit and get to your next 8-0 on the other side of your bar, connect again, and just continue doing that until you get all the way to the end of your bracelet here, and then we'll be back to tie off and secure this and show you the finished product. Okay, so I have finished this entire side. I'm now coming out of this 11-0 seed bead after connecting my very last set of crystal cubes here to finish off the bracelet. And all I'm going to do is I'm coming out here, I'm just going to sew up into this 8-0 one more time. Make sure everything is secure. I think I'm actually going to go around this unit one more time just to, well, did I go through it? I already went through it twice, but I'm going to do it one more time just to make sure. Okay, so then I'm going to sew up this crystal and back into the 8-0, and then I'm going to turn the piece over and sew into the back of the right angle weave. So I'm just going to go straight through this 8-0 seed bead and exit to the back of my piece, like so. And then I am just going to sew into this 8-0 right here. So I've just bypassed the 11-0 I put between the units of 8-0 seed beads. And I'm going to grab this thread bridge right here, right between the 8-0s. I'm going to tie a knot. Well, come on. And then up into this 8-0 here. And then I'm going to grab the thread bridge again between this 11-0 and 8-0. And make sure I don't have my button. Pull through again. Now I'm just going to sew around the unit a little bit. I'll probably just go ahead and sew through all of these beads on the bottom right here. Exit. Cut off my thread. Burn down the tag of thread I left. Melt it in. And this is my bracelet. Now, I wish I would have used a little bit different button. Actually, this, I wanted to use a small button, but this one is actually a little too small. I'll show you what it looks like on my wrist. But this button may not hold great because of the shape of the bottom of it is kind of round. So it wants to just hold on lightly. Whereas if it was a little bit wider and flatter, it would hold on a little better. But that's what this looks like. It's really quite pretty. It's a nice solid design. Just may have to change out my button. Now, this is my original design I made, and I made some changes on this because I didn't like how spread apart my units were. But you can do it this way if you'd like. I put 2 units of right angle weave and embellished them on the end here because by the time I finished my units, if I added another one, my bracelet would be way too long. But if I didn't add 2 units here, it would be too short. So that's what I did with this one. Take it off and show you in comparison what I changed here. So you can change it. You can put your bar units in between as little or as often as you would like to. This one works better. Let me show it to you on, because the button is bigger and it attaches much nicer. See how well that attaches? And this one is a little bit shorter in length, but it still fits well and it looks pretty. It's just, I just wanted to change it up some because I thought that having the units, the bar units closer together would be prettier on the wrist, and I do prefer it. And this one was a little tight, so I made this one just a little bit longer. And that is what that looks like. The end result is about 7.5 inches, which is right for me. This one was right at not quite 7, so it fits my wrist. It's just a little tight. And then I'm going to show you, I was just playing with 2x3 crystal rondelles just to see if it would work, and this is what I started out with on this one. This was actually my very original that I started with, and then I decided I wanted to use the little cubes. This I used 8/0 seed beads instead of 11/0s. You will want to go ahead and use your 11/0s. This makes a bigger presence because of the 11/0s. Or of the 8/0s, I mean. But I did a couple units, I can't find it, but I did a couple units with 11/0s and 2x3 crystals, and it turns out just as pretty as this. It's just that they stick out just a little bit more, but they're still just as pretty. So if you wanted to use the crystals, you could. Anyway, there we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.